What is up, everybody? It's Jesse from Ion Aesthetics. Thanks for checking back into the channel. Today, as the title clearly states, we are dealing with water spots. One of the worst things to deal with if you're really into keeping your car clean, because they can be quite a pain in the butt. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how this happened, what causes it in general, and how you can take care of it, or even better, prevent it from happening in the first place. So I've already got this thing pulled out. We're going to get the wheels and everything cleaned, just kind of give you some quick shots of that, and then we're going to jump right into the specifics of the water spots, all right? Why they're there, what caused them, and how to prevent it so you make your life easier in the future. I got to set a couple of things up, pop you guys on the tripod, and we'll hop right into it. Here we go. All right, folks, so as you can see there, the car is pretty much covered front to back in water spotting, all right? So first things first, just a little bit about how this happened. I took this out for my buddy's wedding, parked it at his house where we got ready, did the whole wedding thing, left it overnight, came back the next day to pick it up. Well, his neighbor's sprinklers had gone off. I didn't get to it until very late the next day, and so it basically sat in the sun. Whatever water from the sprinklers that was on the car proceeded to then dry up, and it created these water spots. All right, now big deal, a bunch of water sits on the paint, you get a couple of spots, you know, what's the big deal? Well, if it's just rain, there really is no big deal, because that's more or less just pure water, and you don't really have to worry about anything drying up and being left behind. However, when it's sprinklers and you're talking about groundwater, groundwater has a high mineral content in it. So you have all these different minerals in there, a lot more than just the water itself, and it's in those little bubbles. So when the water evaporates and everything dries, you're left with the actual minerals themselves, and they just kind of rest on the paint. Through sitting in the sun and the heat opening up the pores of your paint, those minerals then get locked in. My buddy Ernie driving by. And so what you're left with is like a visual effect where you can see the damage and the defects in the paint. So you have a couple of options here, but what we're basically going to do is start by just washing the car and seeing what comes out. Once I did pick up the car, I was able to leave it in the garage, and so the exposure to sunlight was limited pretty greatly. But nonetheless, I still have the water spots here. Now, if you do have a darker car, these spots are going to be more visible. If you don't have a garage and you have to park your car outside, you do run the risk of this stuff setting in and it being even more stubborn to remove, and we'll talk about that. But for now, I'm going to kind of get into just the wash process and see what we can do cleaning it up that way. So to wash this, I'm doing my normal wash process, which is O&R in an IK sprayer. I've got a bucket and a sponge over there with some O&R in it as well. So the first thing we're going to do is soak the surface, and O&R starts to break down and encapsulate anything there. So that'll do sort of like, you know, a preliminary breakdown of minerals for us. All right, I've got a bunch of videos on the channel explaining, you know, more in depth how the O&R rinseless wash system works. This is not going to be a step-by-step tutorial of that, but more or less you guys will get to see the car getting cleaned. All right, so that is the passenger side, pretty much washed and dried, just using my normal wash process, which is O&R. I'll bring the camera in a little bit closer. We'll take a look at first impressions. I can see that it came off decent in some spots, better than others, in other spots not so much. And so we'll see if we can make it a little bit better. So right across the roof, big difference, all right? Glass is a little bit trickier, all right? Once it's in there, it does kind of just set in pretty good. Some of the paint, there's some very faint spots. I don't know if the camera's quite picking it up, but it looks like some of it I can even kind of rub away with my fingers. So a second wash might help, or coming in with my my Boost, the Glass Parency maintenance product, because this does have a ceramic coating on it already. So I'm going to go through the rest of the car, wash it, dry it, kind of circle back, double check the condition of things, and then go from there with the next step.
Few moments later.
Got the other side of the car washed, however, not dried. What I like to do before I dry the car sometimes is, like let's say I didn't get the car as clean as I'd like it to be, I'll apply more O&R to the surface and then pick it up with the drying towel. But what I figured I would also try is just grabbing one of the more plush like microfiber towels that I have and just go over some of those areas that I feel like could have been a little better, especially like the trunk or along the edges here. So I'm going to do a pass with my microfiber towel before I go in and actually dry the car and see if I can wipe some of that stuff up. I know I said I was going to see what happens when I use the coating boost, right? But that's really more of like a protection. It does have some lubrication to it, which is a characteristic of O&R as well. However, O&R is more of a cleaner. So since we're not quite into the protection step yet, and I'm still looking to see if I can get a little bit of a deeper level of clean, we're going to give this a shot. So let's see how that goes. All right, so I'll pick you guys up. Maybe the camera picks this up, maybe it doesn't, but there are some really faint remnants of the water spotting, all right? I'm not totally upset about it. I'm not exactly thrilled about it because I did intentionally let my car sit for a week so that I had like a decent test subject and I wasn't like, oh, hey, here's what happens if you just come out in the morning and wash the water spots off your car, because nobody gets anything out of that. But yeah, so that stuff did sit there for a week. Luckily, I have a ceramic coating on the car. That ceramic coating is the Synergy Works Forza coating, which has graphene technology in it. And that's one of the big things with the graphene coatings is they tout better heat dispersion, which helps prevent water spotting. So the water spotting, although it does occur, it happens within the coating, not within my clear coat, and at a much less severe level. So I'm actually, all things considered, I'm pretty happy with that, all right? And unless you're like, you know, under a microscope with this car, which nobody's gonna be, you're not gonna be able to tell 30,000 foot view. So I'm gonna do that for the rest of the car, and then we're gonna dry it up, and nonetheless, put some of the graphene boost on there, and then we're taking this thing out for a spin.
So the moral of the story here is that there's no cure as good as prevention. And a big key to preventing this stuff from damaging your paint in the first place is applying something like a ceramic coating with graphene technology, because the graphene is there specifically to provide greater resistance to water spotting. Now, the ease of maintenance is the biggest benefit of ceramic coatings. Had I not had a coating like this, it's likely that I would have had to reach for an acidic wheel cleaner, which is really harsh. It degrades the coating. I'd rather not work with that. Or polish the spots and reapply a coating, which is a huge investment of time and money. So I'm glad I didn't have to do that. Now, if something like this happens to your car in the future, do your best to clean it as soon as possible and as safely as possible. And in the meantime, parking it away from sprinklers or covering the car in a garage if you have it is also something great you can do to really prevent this from happening. As always, guys, thanks for watching. My name's Jesse from Island Aesthetics. I'll catch you guys on the next one.